The Meeples and Miniatures podcast is sponsored by Two Fat Lardies and Miniature Wargames Your Battle Games magazine, and also by the generous donations of you, the listeners. So, special thanks to Alex McIntosh, Tom Privatera, Glenn Oberhauser, Keith Erickson, Thomas Brandsetter, and Jonathan Ormandy. Guys, your support helps make this podcast happen. Thanks once again. The Meeples and Miniatures podcast, episode 146, UFO Squad, with host Neil Shook and guest Rusti Gregory. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Meeples and Miniatures podcast with me, your host Neil Shook. Just a quick show for you today, fast on the heels of the last one. I had an email a few weeks ago now from a chap called Rusti Gregory from Crossover Miniatures, asking if I was interested in a Kickstarter they were about to run. And that Kickstarter was called UFO Squad, and essentially is a tabletop version of UFO gaming along the realms of something like XCOM. Now, I'm a huge fan of XCOM. I mean, obviously, if you've been listening to this show for a while, you know that I've kind of mentioned that from time to time. So, being a huge fan of this sort of game, I was interested in what was going on, and so I've had a look at the rules and a few of the bits and pieces. And the Kickstarter was running, at the time we recorded, which was the 23rd of May. But basically, I got back to Rusti and said, hey, do you want to come on the show and have a quick chat about it? He was really pleased to do so. And so I got him on. So it was a really kind of quick impromptu thing. The Kickstarter that we're talking about finishes, as we say in the interview, on the 30th of May, so probably by the time you're downloading this, there's only a couple of days left on it. But it's worth a look. And if nothing else, just to kind of say, okay, flag up these rules and, worth keeping your eyes open for when the project actually gets produced. It's already funded, so it is happening, so these models will be available subsequently to the Kickstarter. Okay, so we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be speaking to Rusti Gregory.
I don't like it, Sergeant. Me neither, sir. Good Lord, it's really looking pretty bad. Yes, sir, it happens every time, sir. It's too predictable, sir. How far do you think we've advanced, Sergeant? 6 inches, sir. It's always 6 inches. We advance 6 inches, then Jerry gets a go. The lads are calling it Hi-Go Hugo, sir. Hi-Go Hugo? Good grief. And they don't like it, sir. Oh, not like it? Seems pretty straightforward to me, rather like cricket. We have an innings, then the other chap does. Well, that's all very well, sir, cricket, sir, but begging your pardon, it ain't like that, sir, in war. I don't think Mr. Hitler plays like that. What, Hitler? No, gosh, he'd like to go all the time. Oh, Lord, sir, lummy. Oh. Well, sir, anyway, sir, it's like this, sir. If it carries on like this, Hi-Go Hugo, me and the lads won't be coming to your Thursday evening games club, and that's the way it is, sir. Looking for more of a challenge with your World War II games? Are you tired of the predictability of I go, you go systems? I&nbsp provides real command challenges on an unpredictable battlefield. Two fat lardies, playing the period and not the rules since 2002. Pip pip.
Well, I'm very pleased to welcome to the Meeples and Miniatures podcast, Rusti from Crossover Miniatures. Hi, Rusti.
Hello, Neil. How are you?
Oh, wow. How are you doing?
Not too bad.
All the way from Vermont.
In the far north corner of the United States. You got it.
Yeah, it's fantastic to speak to you. Thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure. I've been looking forward to it.
Right, so as I mentioned, Rusti owns Crossover Miniatures. Maybe a company that a few of you, many of you may be maybe not quite so familiar with. I must admit, it's a company I've not been particularly familiar with, but then recently put together a Kickstarter on a subject that's very close to my heart, which is something we're going to be talking about in a bit. UFO Squad. People who've listened to the show or read my blog will know that I'm a huge fan of the XCOM games from back in the day. Yes, misspent childhood and all that. and UFO Squad is very reminiscent of playing XCOM on a tabletop. So I thought it'd be great to bring Rusti on the show, have a chat with him all about it, and find out a bit more about Crossover Miniatures while we're at it as well. So, Rusti, as we have with all the people we have on the show for the first time, one thing we like to do is just find out a little bit more about your background, when you started gaming, how long have you been gaming, that sort of thing. So, how did you get into this hobby?
I think I started the usual way. I had an older brother who was big into D&D when I was a kid, so I was spent a lot of time kind of reading through the books and things like that when he was not around, and ended up reading a lot of D&D and Twilight 2000, Star Frontiers, and that kind of stuff. I didn't actually get a chance to play much, but spent hours and hours and hours reading, and then eventually kind of formed my own little group of friends where we were playing a lot of Axis and Allies and Fortress America, Shogun, Risk, all of those types of meatier board games that were available. Yeah. Until finally I found a Warhammer book at the hobby shop, and it was kind of all over at that point. Then for the next 3 years, we were playing loads of games every weekend, unpainted armies just strewn across the table forever. And then, into 40K, and eventually there was a gaming group I joined that was into historicals as well. So I got a bit of GW stuff and historicals. Space 1889 came around that time. Space Marine, I've always had a love of like the small scales and things like that. Oh, yeah. So it was good. And then came junior high and girls and a big break for a long time until I had my own children, and I kind of got back into painting again, 40K models and things, and Flames of War. And then that was me for a while. Just listen to your podcast once or twice. It's kind of full circle for me. It's kind of where I started to kind of explore the smaller niche games and things, at least not mainstream. And that's kind of where I started to discover, games like Might and Reason and other historical games. Started painting 6mm 7 Years War stuff. Started blogging about then. Yeah, and kind of met Sam Mustafa. I started doing a bit of web design and just kind of sent him an email out of the blue asking if I could do his web design for a free book. And he kind of said, no, but I'll pay you and you can do it. And so I started doing a bit more web design, advertised on TMP and things like that. And then quickly found out that there wasn't much money to be made. And then, but I made a lot of contacts at the time, and eventually saw a sculptor that was doing a lot of stuff on the Lit Adventure forums, and kind of made contact with him and decided to start a company.
Right. Okay. So, roughly what timescale are we looking at? How long have you been gaming?
Oh, I'll be 40 next month. So let's say 32 years.
Quite a veteran then, some would say.
That's right. It's always been there. If it wasn't something on the tabletop, I did a lot of computer games as well during the time, too numerous to mention. But yeah, it's been good. I stopped doing computer. I work on computers during the day now, so computer games are out. Too tempting.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, you just spend your entire life in front of the screen.
Exactly. Don't you? Having a quick check to see what the next turn was or whatever. Yeah. So it's definitely only analog these days.
Okay, so you mentioned you got to this point and you decided, hey, I want to start a miniatures company. What made you make that decision in the first place?
I think I'd taken. I kind of got bored with just painting and everything else, and I kind of wanted to start making something. Being a bit of a producer, we do homebrewing and things like that, and it just seemed like I could give it a go. If there wasn't something out there that I wanted, I could give it a try and try and produce it. And Kickstarter came along about the exact same time that I was interested in doing this. I was looking at maybe importing a line or just something, to kind of combine my web hobby and my miniatures hobby at the same time. And then it just turned out the Kickstarter was there at the time, and I just contacted somebody, and it seemed like something I could learn and figure out. I knew absolutely nothing about producing figures, but I'd been a dental technician once upon a time and had some experience with mold making and stuff like that. So I figured I could learn along the way.
How long has Crossover been running now then?
We started our first Kickstarter in December of 2011, so it looks like we're going on 4 years now. Yeah, so it hasn't been that long, but a little while. Okay,
so you've been funding almost exclusively by Kickstarter?
Yeah, I chose about the smallest niche within a niche hobby that you can, superhero kind of skirmish gaming. So even it's obscure, even with within our small hobby. So I was getting tired of painting, green uniforms and blue uniforms and stuff, and wanted to, paint something a bit more colorful. And I looked around, and I didn't like any of the ranges that were out there. Yeah, so that was kind of my impetus for getting it started.
Right. If people are interested, the URL is crossoverminiatures.com. So we're looking at exclusively 28mm?
Yep, just 28. Some of the aliens in our most recent one are a little smaller, but I would say, I don't know if you could use the word 28mm scale. They're closer to 22, but, they're supposed to be small guys. So, yeah, yep. Okay. And, being superheroes, some characters are a little larger than others, but, yeah, that's what we're shooting for.
Right, okay. So you said you've done your first Kickstarter in 2011. So how many have you run at this point in time?
This is my fifth one at the moment. Every one I get a little further along in the process before I show it. The first one we only had 4 or 5 models out of the 15 planned finished, and then the next time I was able to pay for all of them, and then the next time I was able to pay for all of them and the masters and so on. So I get a little bit more ahead of the game each time.
Yeah. You got a fair selection on there. How many models have you got in your range at this point in time?
Oh, you know what? I don't think I know.
Yeah,
that's a good question. I'm going to say around 40 heroes and around probably 40 or I'm going to say close to 100.
Yeah. Okay, and right. So each time you've done a Kickstarter, it's been for an expansion or just like a new faction, or
like about 20 more. I try and, superheroes they're all kind of similar. You have different roles that, different heroes fit. So it was pretty easy for me to figure out, a generic kind of tank, a generic kind of caped crusader type guy, etc. And then I tried to find each, like a theme around each release. So, in the beginning, they were just kind of some, your most stereotypical comic book goon. And then after that, I tried to get in just some thugs that would fit everything from like, supervillain henchmen to bank robbers and things like that. So I've tried to, and then we had one that was robot themed and such. So, yeah.
Do these currently go with a particular rule set that you sell?
Not at all. Completely generic. So the idea is, anyway, each hero comes with 3 heads. So you just kind of, and you can mix and match them for the most part. As we get further along, some of them become more stylized and might not fit all of the other models. But yeah, so you basically bring something to life that you have in your head, and that's what we're hoping to make that possible anyway.
Right, okay. As you browse through the range, you kind of spot, put it this way.
Familiar?
Yes, they are somewhat, yes. They are familiar. They follow certain superhero tropes, shall we say.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that, with the change of a head, you could have it remind you of so many different people. That's what I think that the trope is the perfect word. That's kind of how I describe it. There's one guy in a lab coat, with 3 different heads, he could be 3 different familiar characters. And yeah, it's a pretty neat it's a pretty neat system. And that's one of the reasons I kind of switched to sci-fi this time is I'm kind of running out of the low-hanging fruit.
But, okay, so Crossover's been running since 2011. Okay, so up until this point, miniatures only. Now for something a little bit different. I know you emailed me about this a few weeks ago and said, "Hey, is this something you might be interested in?" I took one look at it and went, "Oh yeah." We're looking at a new game called UFO Squad. Can you tell us all about it?
Yeah, it's a game that I basically I wanted to create a campaign game where you could take a group of, say, humans that were going to be kind of defending against an alien invasion. And I wanted to use a set of rules that was already out there because creating rules isn't necessarily something I'd done before. So I wanted to find a nice, solid rule set to kind of build them upon. And I'm pretty close with the guy who created the super system rules and the goal system kind of rule set. And we were going to start working together. And then that kind of fell through. And then I also know the gentleman who runs Ganesha Games just through emails and things, and I asked him if I was able to kind of license his rules, and he said yes. So that gave me a great start. So there's a year and a half of development that I don't have to worry about because it's already a solid skirmish system. So these were 2 of my favorite sets of rules, basically. So it was great that I was able to do that. So yeah, it's really, really solid. He's already put all the work into it. It's already been stretched a number of different ways, so I knew it could do what I wanted to. So I just had to kind of write the campaign portion.
So these are the Songs of Blades and Heroes style rules.
Correct.
For those of you who, if Ganesha Games isn't immediately familiar to you, maybe you've heard of the Songs of Blades and Heroes. One of my favourite sets of skirmish rules.
Right. Yeah, it's something I knew. What I wanted on the tabletop was it to go very, very fast and very, very easy and quick results. So, none of this, you take off 2 wounds, you still got 6 left. If you get hit in this game, you're either going to be dead or okay. There's not a lot of gray area as far as it goes.
Yeah. So, it's UFO Squad, which, depending on how old you are, will immediately conjure up late night spent in front of the computer. It takes me back. It takes me back to the mid-80s, and I'm playing. I'm playing XCOM on. XCOM on a mate's computer.
Right.
Back in the day.
Yep.
And this and obviously going back even further, if you're a Jerry Anderson fan, remember UFO TV series, and it's that sort of thing. So it's humans versus aliens.
Correct. Yep. So there's kind of like a faceless alien menace. I'll give you the elevator pitch. Is that what we're going for here? So so you've got basically aliens are going to land somewhere, and then you're going to drop in your drop ship somewhere and kind of deploy and take care of them. The idea is that you've got a small group and you can expand it, through resource points, different things that happen during the campaigns, and you're going to build a team. And every time you can send up to 8 guys out on a mission, and they're going to kind of gain experience, and then they're going to die. It's quite brutal. I wanted you to kind of start to care about the guys slowly, and then them to get killed off, quite slowly as well, or not slowly, but over time. So you're going to kind of cycle through your team, which was kind of a big feature when you played XCOM. You really wanted to protect those guys that had developed. So, and there's not a lot of complicated rules, and they'll slowly get special rules throughout the campaign. So you'll kind of learn that you don't need to know everything right off the bat because everything starts kind of vanilla and it develops. So there's a lot of other influences as well. What is the old GW gang warfare Necromunda was, yep, I kind of looked at how things advanced in that when I was thinking about how to advance stuff. Two Fat Lardies, their blind system and things like that. I took inspiration from that to kind of get the hidden movement for the Greys. And yeah, just a lot of different things, and also the blips from Space Hulk and things like that I've adapted and changed to try and make sure that you get a completely different gameplay for the aliens. So my vision is anyway that one guy is going to go through and play his human team, and the other guy is going to play the aliens, where you don't have to worry about any kind of advancement. You can just kind of throw caution to the wind and attack, and then the next game you'll switch.
So, as I said, especially in the Kickstarter we're looking at the moment, we've got humans and we've got greys and maybe some other aliens as well. Now, harping back to especially something like XCOM, we had loads of different aliens turning up in that particular game. Is that something you're planning on doing with this, or are you kind of keeping it down to just a couple of different races? You always have hopes that it's going to be successful, and I'll be able to fund some others down the road. But really, it's kind of a wait and see at this point. It takes a lot to produce. To get everything together to produce more models. So it's really going to depend on how well this one sells, kind of what's next. But there could be some familiar looking types of races in store, but I'm not certain yet. As we're talking about this, the project is due to finish funding on the 30th of May.
You got it.
And it's currently funded. I mean, congratulations as far as that is concerned.
Thank you very much.
Before we went on air, you mentioned that it was a bit of a departure for you, and you were wondering how your normal customer base would take it.
Yeah.
How's it been? Are you getting some good feedback as far as this is concerned?
I am, yeah. There's a lot of crossover between the two. But my other Kickstarters, I can run it, and we're usually funded in about 5 or 6 hours. I think the last one took to fund. So this, it took us a couple days to do this one, but I was fairly certain that we'd fund, just because I knew there'd be a fair bit of nostalgia out there. For this type of game anyway, and yeah, so I have high hopes. When I started the first Kickstarter, there wasn't a big base, and we built it over, the past 3 years. So, and I really think about it as a community. Like, I'm the guy that's just kind of organizing everything, because I'm not necessarily producing anything on here. There's a sculptor that I worked with, and I also contacted the Mad Mecha guy. Do you know him at all? No. He's doing a lot of MDF stuff. He's based in Britain, and he's doing all the MDF, like the drop ship and stuff like that. So I'm just kind of coordinating it for the community, really.
Oh, right, okay. So at the moment we've got 3 packs of greys. We've got an assault disc, which is a really cool looking model.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Then we have a set of big strong aliens.
Yeah, I'm still hoping for a good name for those. I'm still hoping. I think I might run a contest with the backers to find out a good name.
Right. Okay. Then we got a couple of human squads, one male, one female, and then we got the aforementioned MDF dropship. As soon as you look at it, you kind of think, "Oh yeah, I can see where this is coming from." Now, You mentioned as far as rules writing is concerned, obviously we've got a fairly robust games engine, but yeah, this is the first time that you've come into approaching writing rules. How have you found it?
It's really, really tough. I've enjoyed the process so far, but it's a much bigger time sink than anything I've ever done. I'll sit down just to make one diagram, and then I'll just second think, and next thing I know, 3 hours have passed, and I've not even got the diagram finished, for the rules. So I've decided that I'm just going to finish writing them, and I'll add the diagrams in at the end. Maybe with some feedback, but it's a very, very long process. So I have a lot of respect for anybody who spends a lot of time doing it and comes out with these awesome rule books that are out there these days. I really tried to be upfront. I mean, I've almost got. It's almost like buying a pack of cigarettes when you look on this on the website, where I'm trying to give a warning at the end that this is my first try, and that it's not going to be a polished 2 years in development rule set that is going to be a big glossy book or something. It's just a bunch of ideas that I've thrown together, which I think have some value, but it's still open for interpretation and improvement.
Yeah. Now these are going to be available just as a PDF.
Yeah, just as a PDF. I don't have. It's actually getting them into print is quite another skill set. Andrea from Ganesha Games has offered to help me with that at the end if we want to go that route. But it's not in the cards at the moment, but it's a possibility.
Now, obviously, as part of this game, and people will know if they've played any of the computer games, the campaign system is really the heart of it, isn't it?
Correct. Yep. So there's a lot of charts and things involved in the campaign system. The tabletop aspect, is a solid system already. So then, and it's fast play, and the idea is that you get through there without a lot of record keeping. I think one of the big Ganesha game things is that there isn't any, markers, that you don't need markers and things like that on the table, but I've added a few in just to get the effect that I wanted. And then once you get done, then there'll be a few charts and tables that you'll need. It won't be quite as intuitive the first few times, but I reuse the same systems over and over again to try and get the effect, so I don't have to create something new every time. We just kind of tweak it. So yeah, that's the idea anyway. So once you get through, then you can spend points. So you figure out, what you gained during the scenarios, and then you get to go through and see if any of your troops have improved. Yeah, and should be a fun session afterwards.
Yeah. Okay. So it's very similar in some ways. Then I take it to, as you mentioned, some Necromunda, the kind of that sort of gang warfare sort of game that people have come across before when they played in a campaign system.
Yes, more streamlined. There's not so many options, because there's only 3 stats. One of them you can't do anything about. The other 2 can improve. So it's not quite as crunchy as some of those games. So yeah, so a little bit more streamlined. But you should be able to get some personality out of the figures.
Right. Okay. And of course, another thing with something like XCOM, for example, there was a big thing about research and gaining new technology. Is that sort of thing going to be available?
No. Well, yes, to a limited extent. I listened to a different podcast where they were kind of going over what's the Mantic. Dead Zone, yes. And I heard about it, and I was like, they stole. I was going to go with Strike Team and Strike Force. So they stole actually a lot of. I mean, that's a very, very similar kind of concept as well. So yeah, there's so there is a very, very simple one. But again, I didn't want it to be complicated. Those things break so easy. So it adds a bit of flavor to the game. So there is a bit of a tech tree there. You get a scanner eventually and things like that. So yeah, that's in there. But again, it's a very simple and streamlined system. Nobody wants to be adding up how many bullets they spent, a shot or things like that at this level. It's just kind of accessing new techs and things like that.
And also, as far as the gameplay is concerned, we have this thing, again, people will remember both playing outside and also being able to play inside of UFOs. Is that sort of thing available as far as what you thought about?
Not at this point. It's kind of important to remember that I'm not actually trying to recreate that game, but I'm just checking the things that I enjoyed from those games and kind of adding them to this one. So it should be kind of, again, a familiar experience, but definitely not trying to recreate the exact same situations and things. I do have a MDF flying saucer that just came in the mail yesterday. I didn't want to show any pictures of it until it was actually in my hand. I feel when I'm running a Kickstarter that I really have to make sure that I have things before I promise them. So I haven't shown it yet. So I need to put that together this weekend and pop it up there as some kind of an add-on. So I've got a small one and a large one. They're both just circular, but they're MDF, so they're probably more octagonal really than circular. But they're pretty neat little models, and you can fit a few figures in there. So yep. So there'll be something like that coming.
Cool. That sounds really good. Okay, so just to kind of explain again to people as far as scale is concerned and how many figures you actually need. I mean, you've already mentioned we're talking about a group of 8 humans. How many aliens roughly are we going to be talking about?
So it's going to scale. Basically, I also looked at Two Fat Lardy's most recent set where you just you get your base set, and then you get a few points extra to spend, depending on the scale of your of your game. So as the XCOM guys advance, they're going to advance in status, and then you'll take those status points and be able to spend them to increase your alien side. So as my XCOM team, say I put in there and they've got a status of, just throwing numbers out here, 15, then I might have 15 extra points to spend on my alien. So then you can choose how you want your alien force to be created. So basically it's all about choices. I don't want nobody wants to sit down for an hour game or an hour and a half game and be stuck with something that they don't want to play. So the idea was to make it really, really flexible as far as the aliens. So they're still fun, but you're really just kind of the other guy's antagonist. But you can kind of choose how you want to do it. Do you want a few assault discs, or do you want to put more big chompy aliens running around? So I would say, is that ambiguous enough? Let's say 15 to 20.
Because I always seem to remember that, especially early on in XCOM, it was always the other way around. There was always a lot more humans, a lot fewer aliens, but all the humans always seem to die.
Yeah, that could still happen.
And so, and obviously, of course, we're looking at hidden movement as well. And again, that was always a feature. We always have this hidden movement going on. How are you actually going to represent that? So,
again, talking to the guy who's doing the MDF, I asked him if I'd actually seen this on a different website where some guy had made plexiglass like counters so you could replace some pawns in a board game. And I asked him if he could do that, and we did. I sent him a picture, like a profile of one of the models, and he created it out of clear acrylic. So it's just like a cutout. So there'll be 2 of those for each alien. And you can move those around, and this is where the kind of like the Two Fat Lardy's blinds. It's kind of a similar concept where so you can move those 2 anywhere, and then once they get spotted or once they take an action or whatever, then you have to either replace it with the real guy or just remove it from the table.
Oh, so there's a real fog of war with the amount of models that's on the table.
Exactly, and it's one-sided as well, right? It's only the aliens that are going to get that, so you get a bit of a different feel depending on which side you're playing.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're looking at Kickstarter finishing on the 30th of May. And you say at the moment, you're still very much in development and still writing the rules. When are we actually looking to actually publish all this?
So by the time I deliver, it's going to be another month or 2. I'm hoping to get everything out by the end of June.
That's quite a short timescale. I mean, obviously, an awful lot of Kickstarters people are used to having, it's going to be 6 months. It's going to be months or so.
No, like I say, I try and buck the trend. I was one of the first gaming. I was on the 3rd or 4th guy that I know of that was using Kickstarter, and I've tried to really kind of hold true to doing exactly what I say, exactly when I say I'm going to do it. So that's really important to me. So I've already got the production molds. The day I got the production molds, the okayed from the caster mold maker, I hit the button to start. So everything's ready to roll. Yeah, so I just have to put the order in. The longest part for me is actually getting everybody to commit and get me all their information.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, that sometimes takes a while. I just had a guy, a year late send me, hey, sorry I didn't fill out my my reward form. So it takes a while to get everything because I want to make sure I get it all done pretty quick. So I'm hoping to have the rules done by the time I send everything out. So I'm looking at another month. I'm a teacher, so things are just kind of wrapping up for me. So then I'll be able to spend a lot more time to get things finished.
Right. Okay. And what sort of pricing levels are we looking at as far as this project is concerned?
For the rules?
For the rules and for the figures.
All right, yeah. So the figures. So I'm trying to make them a little cheaper than some of my figures that I've sold before, just because with superheroes everything is completely unique. So you're only going to ever sell one to somebody for the most part. But I'm hoping that these will be something that you would want to buy a few of. So the aliens are going to be $11 for 5. The humans, I think I'm looking at $15 for 5. And the big guys, there's just a lot of lead in those, are probably going to be $16 for the 4 of those. 3 big ones and 1 little one. Yeah. And the MDF stuff, boy, I am just absolutely clueless on where the price point's going to be for those. I'm thinking around $25 for the drop ship. Yeah. So, and the rules in the end, they're $6 in the Kickstarter at the moment, and they'll be $8 when they come out.
Yeah. You say you ship anywhere in the world. I mean, knowing how expensive it is to ship to some places in the world, depending on what you have. How have you found the challenge of getting your shipping charges sorted out?
So I've noticed a lot of people, so you have these Kickstarters that are absolutely crazy, and they ship, they include it for free and things like that. My first Kickstarter I created, I was able to ship anywhere in the world up to 4 pounds for like $9. By the time I had finished my second Kickstarter, it had risen to $13, and by the time I did my third, we were at $24 for that same amount of stuff. So basically, I just kind of put on there that I can't subsidize the shipping. I'm not doing a high volume kind of business. I mean, there's only 50 or 60 backers was my biggest one, and even on what I charge on shipping, 10% goes to Kickstarter. So it's tough. So I'm up front. I just say I'm not going to subsidize it. So it is what it is, the actual, but obviously by supporting a Kickstarter, the upper end, you're getting quite a substantial discount. So it should take some of the sting out, but yeah, it's a tough one, especially when you're dealing, our hobby, well, unless you're a plastics guy, our hobby is a very heavy one.
Not quite, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. People have asked about, just buying the drop ship, and I'm like, sure, but it's say $22 out of the Kickstarter, and then it's $15 to ship, so it's tough. You put that 8 ounces onto 2 pounds, and it's not going to be an extra $15, but shipping it by itself. And that's one of the reasons why I spent a lot of time figuring out the weights and the shipping, and that's why there's so few options in my Kickstarters, is because I really have it down to a T as far as the costs and stuff. So I try.
Right, yeah, because it's quite unusual I was going to say it's quite unusual in the fact that you got these various pledge levels, and normally you're used to seeing like there's add-ons for various different bits and pieces, and yeah, they're not really there at the moment.
No. I've actually been convinced by a bunch of people to do that this time. And typically, I see these Kickstarters and I think, what a nightmare it's got to be for the guy to fulfill them. And I really, I really believe the Kickstarter is there to kind of democratize the production of these things and get a bunch of like-minded people together to make something that hasn't been done yet. I don't necessarily see it as a storefront where you go in and you say, I'll have 2 of these and 3 of these and 4 of those, where, a lot of the big companies are using it as a storefront, and they have these pledge managers and all these things. I really don't see it that way. I see it as the people that really want to see this happen are going to get a great deal. And then afterwards, people can kind of pay retail if they just want bits and pieces, but you're not necessarily contributing to the overall creation of it with the bits and pieces. So So I guess I just have a bit of a different theory. And other times I've said, beforehand, I'll put a disclaimer on there, and I forgot to put my disclaimer on there this time. That this, it's not a Kickstarter where I'm going to throw 75 stretch goals out there and stuff, because they tend to be pretty small. Again, this is very, very niche.
Not just it is a small number of backers.
It's my smallest one yet, for certain.
I mean,
my last one made less money here, but I did a self-starter, which I sent out to all of my previous backers and offered them an even better deal because I wasn't losing the 10%. And then after that, then I went to Kickstarter for further funding. So the last one looked smaller, but this has been it.
But as I say, it's one of those things that it's as you say, it's a niche product. But obviously, once it's funded and once all the masters have been done and everything, it's then there and available. And so, at that point, are you looking at to basically selling it as a bit of a bundle?
I might do. I always feel it's tough to go back and offer somebody a great deal after the Kickstarter's been finished, and then to say, to offer that price to other folks afterwards. It's something I always struggle with. Every time I think about running a sale, I'm like, I can't make it too cheap because, I kind of just have a lot of respect for the backers that kind of made it happen. So, I don't know, but this one really lends itself to a nice kind of all-in-one bundle. So I'll have to figure that out. But my gut reaction is maybe.
Yeah, cool.
Is that wishy-washy enough?
Yeah. Well, as I say, it lends itself to a bundle, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, well, it's a bundle, but you weren't on the Kickstarter, so hey, you know.
Right. Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's a subject that's very close to my heart, and I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, the final rule set and everything, because I just love this style of game. I really do. So the models, especially the greys, look really groovy. Yeah, they're a lot of fun. So. Yeah, looking forward to seeing this.
Excellent. Yeah, I hope it's kind of taken, you know, in the spirit. It's not going to take itself super seriously. It should be, like, you use the right words. I'm hoping it's fun for folks and it gives you a chuckle. Yeah,
so as I say, it's due to finish as we're recording this, it's the 23rd. So it's in the UK, it's just clicked over to the 23rd. Right. So it's so you've got just about a week to get involved. It's certainly worth checking out. And that's UFO Squad. So I don't know how you are as far as your forward planning is concerned. I mean, are you already looking at what you're going to do next, or at the moment is it very much a case of this is taking all of your time?
No, I'm typically the way I work is as soon as the money comes in from the Kickstarter, I'll pay. I'll basically once everything's fulfilled, I take all that money and I start talking to the sculptor about what's going on next. But this time I'm thinking about buying a laser cutter this summer. So that might be my next project. So I might bundle any profit from this into that and see about starting to cut some of my own stuff.
Oh, right. Okay. So you're potentially looking into things like MDF terrain and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I have wanted an MDF cityscape for the road system and things like that for so long, and I think that I'm just going to try and produce a lot of cool stuff. Though my biggest frustration in a lot of these Kickstarters has been that I'm basically waiting around for everybody else to do stuff, and I'm not creating anything myself. So I think I'm going to give that a try.
Well, that sounds really interesting. I mean, having chatted to a couple of guys who have been working with MDF and seeing how some people are pushing the envelope in different ways. It'll be interesting to see what you come up with.
Yeah, it's good.
It's a massively expanding market, isn't it? I mean, when you think even just a few years ago, the scenery market especially has just massively exploded with with the general availability of lasers, isn't it?
Right. It's amazing. And you even just getting MDF in the States is quite a challenge. It's not a substance that you can find here. There's one place that I know of, and that's really it. And just to find 2mm MDF and things like that is really, really a challenge here. So that's going to be the first thing I'm going to have to overcome. Figure out how to import it.
I must admit that is something I never even thought of, because it's a material that's pretty readily, it's readily available in the UK.
Yeah, and dirt cheap.
And not really something I thought about.
Yeah, we don't have it here. It's and I couldn't tell you why, but I've even called up like MDF producers and on the West Coast, and they're like, yeah, we don't make it that thin. I've been told that it warps easily, and it's not. I mean, so there's all kinds of weird reasons why it's not here, but yeah, it's a weird one.
Well, in that case, then it's probably much more of a challenge than I originally thought. So I have to wish you all the best with that, mate.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, Rusti, it's been great to have you on the show. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
It's been good to have a chat. Wish you all the very best with the UFO Squad. Especially with all this wonderful editing that you have to do on these rules.
No problem. Yeah, thank you very much. It's going to be a challenge.
So, as I say, you were saying that having gone through this one, this may be your first and last rule set. Really?
I think it's fairly certain that it's going to be the last one for sale. I think I'd like to push out more content for free. Obviously, if I could do that without hurting any licensing or owing anybody money to do it, I'm going to try and put out as many stats and things like that I can, and improvements as we go along. So hopefully an ever-evolving set.
Oh, right, okay. And having gone through this, are you likely to think, hey, it's whetted my appetite. Maybe I should consider writing my own set of rules for the superhero figures?
No. It's basically made me think, maybe I'll learn how to design something else instead.
Well,
maybe I'll leave this to the professionals.
Yeah, you just stick with producing the minis. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, Rusti, it's been fantastic to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. As I say, all the very best with the UFO Squad. Even more, it sounds like the best of luck trying to source raw material for your new laser.
Appreciate it. I'm going to need it. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, it's been great to chat. Take care.
All right. Take care.
Well, I hope you found that chat interesting. It was great to chat to Rusti and get some insights on crossover miniatures and also some thoughts behind how UFO Squad is going to pan out. I'd say looks interesting, and whilst some of the figures may not be to everyone's liking, I know some of the human figures I'm not 100% happy with. Having said that, you look at other miniatures. I mean, certainly in my collection, I've got miniatures that are standing on both sides of this particular game, and the ideas behind the game anyway. Certainly, the rules are a nailed on to get. I do like the grey miniatures. There's some interesting figures there, and I think the standout thing is the attack disc that they're using. Go check it out. That's all I can suggest. So, as I say, very quick show for you. But hope you found it interesting. We'll leave it there for this time. Well, I hope you join us again soon. In the next show, we're going to be chatting all about Planetfall. So that's going to be coming up somewhere around about the end of the month. Okay, so until next time, take care, happy gaming, and we'll chat very soon. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. If you want to know more about Meeples and Miniatures, there are several things you can do. First of all, you can visit the website at www.meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. If you want to contact the show at all, you can email me at neil@meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. You can follow the show on Twitter. Simply look for M&M Podcast, or click the follow us on Twitter button from the website. We also have a group on Facebook. That's the Meeples and Miniatures Podcast Fan Club. Again, follow the link from the website. And finally, if you want to help to support the show, you can always donate to the podcast by clicking the PayPal button on the donate page, again found on the website. Once again, thank you for listening. I hope you've really enjoyed the show. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.